All right. Morning, beautiful people. Happy Faith Based Friday. Happy Faith Based Friday. Let me just double check in, get everything tapped in, get everything shared out, and we're going to get this thing started. Friday. All right, we're here. Facebook. What's happening, Facebook? What's happening, Facebook? And LinkedIn. All right, let me make sure we're good on the Facebook. Excuse me, good on LinkedIn. All right, LinkedIn, we're good. Let me just repost it real quick, and let me just check YouTube and make sure everything is copacetic here. Boom. Meet me on the YouTube, meet me on the Facebook if you haven't. All right. Meet me on the YouTube, meet me on the Facebook. All right, bet. Everything's good. Everything's copacetic. Good morning, folks. Good morning, or good at whatever time it is you may be listening to this. Welcome to another Faith-Based Friday. Let me just introduce myself real quick to any newcomers to my world. My name is Aswan Crookshank, former Division I college football player and current 5-time published author, soon to be 6-time published author and educator on what I do, what I created, what the whole business, what the whole Move Swiftly framework is all about, is taking the lessons on teamwork, taking the lessons that you learn on the football field about teamwork, innovative teamwork, and applying them to businesses. So they have a staff, they have a group of employees, they have a group of people that are progressive, eager, passionate, and they move very much. They're like identical to a championship high school or youth football team. That's the kind of staff we build around here. That's the kind of systems we put in place. So you have that type of staff, you have that type of mentality, you have that type of culture in your workplace. All right. So every single Friday, if you do not know, I'm going to tell you now every single Friday. So every single Sunday, I do go to church. I am a regular church goer. I do pay my tithes. I go to Life Church every Sunday, and man, do I enjoy it. I just absolutely enjoy it. Been going. Remember the first Sunday I went, it was the beginning of the football season, and they had the place decorated with football stuff. They had hot dogs and stuff like that. And again, me being the football guy, knowing the business I'm in and the people I look to serve, I'm like, okay, this is me. I like this. I like the way they do things here. We're going to get into it in a second. But every Friday, so I go to church on Sunday, and then I decided doing this maybe a couple of weeks ago. You got to go check the channel, but I decided to go live every Friday, or reserve every Friday morning to just Faith-Based Friday, where I go over the sermon that happened Sunday. So I have an opportunity to re-listen to it, apply it, learn about it, read. Maybe there was something that got said that I didn't pick up on, all these sorts of things, because I think it's important, especially if you're talking about developing your walk of faith, especially if you're talking about developing a stronger relationship with God. It's important that you worship God every day and you remember his word every day, in every moment, every situation that you're in. It's important that you worship every single day, especially on the Friday mornings, whether, Friday mornings going into the weekend, where there's always that temptation to go out and do something that isn't of God, isn't godly. It's important that you get that message reinforced. So I decided to go Faith-Based Friday on every Friday and reserve that day. So before we get into the message, which was a message, let me tell you, it was a message, man. He brought in a magician. Like, imagine at a church that brings in a magician to do magic tricks in front of us, build magic tricks, and then connect those magic tricks with the word and allow us to apply it and all that. That's a day of church. I love it. I'm happy to pay my tithes there because of everything they do to make it so, faith is something that is relatable to people. So I'll get into it in a second. Let me filter myself, because I got to make these announcements. And if I start by, Pastor Oswald may just come out on you every once in a while, might just start preaching on you. So let me get through these announcements, and then we're going to get into the sermon. So first and foremost, speaking of Life Church, I am a group leader at Life Church. I do free boxing lessons every single 2 weeks. It's 9 a.m. Saturday. We got a good group showing up now. Good amount of people coming to the group. And we're actually going to have a session tomorrow on the 15th. If you're interested in that, simply hit that QR code that you see right there on the screen. Or if you're listening to this via audio, go to freeboxing.makeyourmove.com, get some information, and I will be happy to send you the details and everything. Also, like I mentioned at the beginning, business owners, we're here to serve you. I am here to serve you guys. All right. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. I've created a list of 10 things that you can be doing right now in your business that'll make it so your staff and the people that show up in your business are able to have a sense of identity, a sense of, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is my calling. They're not showing up and just saying, oh, I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing my job. No, they're going to start saying, I'm doing my purpose. I'm in my life work. I'm doing exactly what I should be doing so I can leave my mark on society. And finally, Patreon. Make sure you tap into the Patreon link, patreon.com/as144. You can get the preseason, regular season, postseason, whichever membership fits your budget. I will make sure we chat about that. So before we get into the sermon, let me also send you all over to the main website to dive deeper into everything I'm doing. It is makeyourmove.com. That's makeyourmove.com. As you can see, you can shop there. You can get the books. You can join the Patreon. You can book me to speak, or just learn more about Aswan, right? Learn more about me. You can listen to the podcast. All of that is available on makeyourmove.com. All right, folks, let's get into the sermon today. Because this sermon was absolutely, man, I got to tell you again, he brought in the winner. So now you could tell I don't watch a lot of TV. You could tell I don't watch a lot of TV because I have to go back. This, what you're seeing on the screen, is Faith-Based Friday of last week. All right. And the reason I'm playing it is because this is the way Pastor Groeschel started his message. And as I was going through it and I was reviewing it and I was recapping it, I had noticed that this guy right here, I don't know who he is, don't know what he's about, don't know anything about him, but I just simply noticed that he's in church with a backwards hat on. And I went on a kind of a rant there, showing you or telling you how much I appreciate the fact that he feels comfortable being in a church with his hat backwards on and isn't being judged or anything like that. And it just so happened that this guy is the winner of America's Got Talent. His name is Dustin. Dustin Cavala. Yeah, this is it. Dustin Cavala. He's the winner of America's Got Talent. And he actually gave the sermon. He gave the sermon this past Sunday. He gave the sermon. This same dude that I noticed right here, I noticed a week ago, gave the sermon this week. Let me just look him up real quick if you're watching this on video. And it's like, you see what I mean when we're talking about, America's Got Talent, this guy. I mean, and if you dive into his past and all that, this is one of the most famous people in the world. And I didn't know who he was. That's how, again, you could tell I don't watch a lot of TV. Too a lot. I felt so out of touch when they said that too, because Pastor Groeschel brought him up. And he goes, yeah, this is the winner of America's Got Talent. And I had noticed him. The week before just because his house was backwards. And I didn't know at all who he was. So let me play this and then we're going to get into his actual sermon because he did some magic tricks there that were absolutely mind-boggling. And I want to make sure I get those in and have them shown, and we could address it as it goes. So I'm going to play this first. I have the budget. All right, hold up.
I just had this random thought, doubt flooded my mind, and I just thought, what if all this stuff isn't real?
Hold on, real quick. I have the budget. I just have the budget.
This is me.
Because What the reason I am such a fan of this particular church? Listen, all right, you are listening and speaking to someone who has been judged so much that it almost feels like it's normal in many ways. In fact, I went to a Catholic school, and I remember having my hat on backwards and being looked at like oh, that's a thug. I remember hearing all sorts of things when it comes to the religious type folks, or the folks who have this moral high ground. When you're able to be a pastor in a church, and I'm sitting here looking at this guy who's next to him. I don't know who he is, but the fact that they're in a church and his hat's on and he's backwards and he's sitting next to the pastor, this is what I mean when I say that is very humanizing. It's very peaceful. It gives you a foundation to where you can meet him where you are. You can wherever you are in life, whatever you've done, it doesn't matter. The past is the past. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, meet God where you are and grow from that place. All right, grow from that place, because as you can see, to me, that's what drew me in. But the first Sunday, I always tell the story because I was explaining that to some people when I met them at the family dinner that I was talking about earlier. Is I walked into this church the first Sunday of the NFL football season, and me again being a person that speaks about football as frequently as I do and has learned so much from the game, I walked in and I saw that they decorated the place with all the teams. They were serving people hot dogs. It was almost like it was almost like we were fans, and they were catering to the people that really wanted a place in which they were not going to be judged and they can come and fellowship. That's what, in my opinion, that's just what church is supposed to be about. I just want to make sure I address that before I let him go. I'm gonna let her keep cooking though. All right. So that was, you heard my rant. That was my rant. Now the same guy, again, the guy I had no idea who he was, is now giving the sermon the next weekend. All right. Again, we're in the same thing. We're in the same backwards hat, preaching his behind off. So he started the sermon doing a magic trick. And one of the biggest takeaways from this past week was the hope is the most potent when things are looking bleak, right? When you don't get it, when it looks like you never are going to get to the goal, or it's something that's so odd, so out of whack. That's when hope becomes more important. And he used a set of magic tricks to illustrate his point. So what I'll do is I'll let the magic tricks play, and then we're going to address both of them, because he did two. And I went and rewatched. And I wasn't sure. All right. As he was doing it, I wasn't sure if the people that he brought on the stage were in on these tricks and that he told them to say a certain answer, but it all really connects. It actually does. So let me let him roll.
Each of you has a list of 30 different snacks. There are 30 different snacks on each of these lists. In this hand, you're going to take this list. You guys obviously have no idea what snacks are on this list. You're going to hold that. You're going to hold this one, Lawson. And here's what's going to happen. I said you guys are going to do a magic trick. You guys all have 30. It looks like she's reading it with the blindfold on. That's a magic trick right there. What I want you guys to do is thinking of a number between 1 and 30. You guys all have a number. Yes, cool. We're going to start over here. Can you please shout your number out? 8. 8. Can you shout yours out? 23. 23. Yours? 23. I'm done. That's it. I told you they were going to do a magic trick. Looks like you're the only one who got it wrong, but that's okay. Cool. I'm going to have you guys take off those blindfolds, and we're going to go one by one. You can take off the blindfold. You guys are going to tell us what that number is. You said number 8. What is number 8 on your list? Bananas. Number 8. Bananas. I told you were going to do a magic trick. You could pick any number, any snack. Yes. You said 23. What is 23 on yours? French fries. It's close. They're both like a fried potato. We'll count it. That's close enough. And
wait for it, folks. It's coming.
23 as well.
Cucumbers.
Oh, that's just no. Well, this would be a great time to just, give some kind of message about second chances. Where it's okay. We literally went from like nailed it to pretty good to just total failure. Lawson was just, it's again, look, this is the message I'm supposed to probably give some kind of meaningful tie-in here. So let's do this. Maybe because, second chance, we don't really get a second chance always. Sometimes with God, maybe we don't need one, right? Sometimes life gets a little bit messy. We have messes and mistakes and all kinds of shortcomings. And we're like, God, I need a do-over. And sometimes God can do something with those messes. It just takes the ability to see past what we see with our human eyes, to believe that maybe there's something deeper happening. You guessed bananas, and you are my favorite volunteer. By the way, thank you for not making this weird. You almost got it. But what if you looked a little bit deeper? You said French fries. You could pick anything on this list. Like I said, sometimes we don't need second chances. We just need to look deeper. So
let me tell you. This is because, all right, I thought this was it was like a little fake. But when I saw her reaction, if you look at her reaction to this, if you look at the reaction, you're like, oh, okay. This is, as I was watching this live, again, I'm watching this live, and I'm like, are the people in on it, or this? And he addresses that thought later. But I just want to pause her reaction. Her reaction is actually seems very, very pure and very, very, very much like she really is surprised. You see it?
Is there water? Because that is the driest, stalest French fry ever. And I'm so serious. Can we have water real quick? That is crazy how stale that is. Those have been in there since earlier today. I didn't plan on that. I can't breathe. You guys remember the cinnamon challenge? You got like the dry French fry challenge. Those are crazy. You don't buy French fries from Walmart. You said cucumbers. Could pull up this camera here.
Yeah, it was pretty special. And this is my first time ever hearing about this guy, knowing who he is, knowing anything about him. So I'll let him talk a little bit.
That was legitimately the driest French fry in the world. Look, I love this, and this is why I love magic tricks, because, again, I think that sometimes we don't always get second chances, and we live in a culture that is obsessed with impressing people, right? You look through people's social media feeds, impressing people with our meals, with our vacations, with our jobs, with our friends. Everything is just like somehow trying to define our worth to everyone else. And I think that becomes a problem for me in my life. I struggle a lot with depression. I don't know if you guys.
All right, so I'm gonna pause him there. I'm gonna pause him there because I think it's important in terms of where he starts going, and I want to make sure I get it, because if you thought that was impressive, wait till you see the next trick he does towards the end of the sermon. But what he said, and what, first of all, the action that he took, the actual magic trick that he created, is it important to understand that just the outside looking in and the connection that he draws, when you are trying so hard, and you have it in your own mental, you have this worldview, you have this concept, you have this idea that you are just trying to impress people, eventually you lead yourself down a world that becomes a very, very, very ugly reality for you. It becomes a very ugly result of you. If we had gone out, let's say that people looked at him for the first time and said, okay, you're wrong with the thing of Oreos, you're wrong with the Lay's potato chips, and you're wrong, and you don't look deeper in the surface of an individual, then you would have never gotten to the result. You have never realized you had the right answer. And actually, even in this sermon, he gives an example of when he was watching his, matter of fact, you know what? Let me let him say it. Let me let him say it, because I might get to preach it, but it's such a powerful story. Yeah, this is it. It's such a powerful story that he tells about when he was watching his boys, and the boys felt like there was something going on where the boys felt like he was trapped in spider webs. And I'll let him tell it. I've talked it up. I'll let him tell it.
I run into the living room and
Here it is. Yeah, here it is.
Just that crazy scream. And as a parent, like, there's just that scream that's like, something horrible's happening, you just go running.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys have ever ran down steps, but you look like a moron when you're running down steps. And so I'm like, trying to make my way down, like just jumping down 14 steps. I'm like, I haven't done this since I was 14. I just jumped all the way down to the bottom floor. And I run into the living room, and Silas is on the floor like, and he's just doing this. I'm like, what am I looking at right now? He's like, I'm trying to figure out, why do you scream like you're dying? And you're just, and he's like, I told Xander not to shoot me with webs, and he shot me with webs, and now I'm taking out.
You see why this church is great?
I'm like, all right, I can do that thing. I can pick him up. Like, bro, you're good, man. Look, Daddy can get these. Daddy's got web-proof gloves. Let me get these webs off, right? And the other part of me is like, listen, dumb kids, stand up. These webs aren't real. I didn't say that. And some of the not parents right now are like, this guy's a horrible father. And some of the actual parents are like, I think that every day. So have kids, then judge me. But listen, here's the thing. Silas believed this was real, and he's down here like this. Before I can even say anything, before I can even figure out how I'm going to do this, Xander's like, Daddy, I'm sorry. It was an accident. I didn't know any stuff. And I'm like, what? And I'm like looking at Silas. I'm like, what do I do? The next thing you know, Xander, I'm talking about like blending imagination and reality. Xander's like, oh, open that up. Xander comes running in with a knife, a real knife. A real knife to cut off imaginary webs. To these boys, these webs were the realest thing on the planet. And I'm like, don't do that, but I'm kind of interested to see how far this will go. Because all I have to say, Silas was fine. I stopped the knife thing. And some of you guys are like, how'd you let your kids get to the knife? Listen, I got boys. Those knives could be taped on the ceilings, and they're going to figure out how to get to them. Okay? But here's my point. This is how real these webs were to them.
Yeah.
And for some of you guys, these hardships in your life, these weaknesses that you have, the things you're struggling with are so real to you that you are bound up in webs that don't exist. You're like, I'm disqualified, God. I'm struggling with this. I'm addicted to this. My marriage looks like this. I think I'm just disqualified.
Yes. Yes.
Some of you guys are waiting for a hug. I was like, dude, stand up.
Let him cook.
Pay for it.
Take him to church. Yes.
But this is the thing. We believe that our weaknesses define us. When we get that promotion, when we get that person in that relationship, when that good thing happens, when we get enough likes on that post, we think we're valuable. And when something goes wrong, we think now we're not. Let me tell you something. Your value doesn't change overnight just because the circumstance changed. Your worth is the same. The only thing informing you of your worthlessness is these webs, is these chains that aren't real.
All right. I mean, man, listen, there's a whole lot we could jump into with that, but I want to make sure I make that point clear and I re-emphasize it and I put an exclamation mark on it. These things that hold us back are so not real. And you're speaking to someone that's around kids all day, that hears it all day. 8 hours of it. Well, technically, feels like more like 12 hours of it. 20. To be honest with you, when you've developed the lifestyle, been around kids as long as it feels like 24 hours of it because they never leave your mind. And this is why I love the example that he gave about his boys, because when you're around kids and you see the way kids think, and then you start to talk to adults who have not even grown out of this worldview where they're running around with these imaginary webs and they're doing things that make absolutely no sense. It's just imagination stuff. Just break free from the webs and have the conversation, have these things happen, and it's in your own head that you can do it. It is not about somebody else. It's about what's going on in your own head and having the courage to step out on faith. That is what he's saying. That's the mentality, and that is the mentality that we have all got to start to adopt. Just because we see somebody with their head backwards does not mean they can't give a damn sermon and absolutely set the place on fire. All right, set the place on fire. So, all right, I see I'm running a long time. I like to keep these only 5 minutes. Excuse me. I like to keep these only about 30 minutes. So I'm going to get to he brought these same people back up to do a final magic trick, and he connected it with a Instagram post that Pastor Craig Rochelle did, and then they kind of close out the sermon there. So I'm going to let that run. I'm going to let that run through. All right, let me get it real quick. There it is. All right. I'm gonna let him There it is. All right.
You can stand right here. I'm gonna have you stand right here, and then you're tall, so you can stand right here, and you can stand right in the middle of them. Yep, you can come over here. You don't gotta be scared. You were the only one who got it right. You should be the least scared out of these guys. Listen, it's fun. It's fun to look back and see the things that God's done in our lives because it gives us confidence to keep moving forward. I have some like random. I have some Legos, some Lego pieces. We have like some hair, some legs, hammer, a sword, a hat, some weapons, some axes, some heads and helmets and legs and arms and hands and stuff. I'm gonna have you take just one of those pieces, anyone that you want. I have your map of the US with all major cities. I want you to just look at this map and I want you to think of one of these major cities in our country, okay? And for you, we have some crayons here. I'm gonna have you just pick a random color. Pick one of these crayons. You're gonna pick one of these Lego pieces. I want you to think of something. You can go ahead and pick that now. Yep, you can go ahead and pick one. It's fun. It's fun looking back and seeing what God has done. Yeah, you guys can take those. You can just hold them in your hand. Right? Yeah, you can grab it. You can grab it. Did you get a crown? You can hold those in your hand. I want to bring up a post actually real quick from Craig. There's a Craig Instagram post. Follow Craig Rochelle on Instagram, everybody. It's like you're promoting my Instagram page. Yes, I am. Listen, I love this picture. It says, now and then, we recently visited the first home that we lived in after we got married. It's interesting how you don't always know you're in a special season until you look back on it. So thankful for this life that we built together. And I think that what we understand Craig is saying here is that sometimes you're looking back at season, when you're in a season, when God is moving and you're struggling, it's difficult, right? But then you look back and you're like, man, it's so great. We didn't even realize how special it was. We didn't even realize what God was doing in that moment. And I love that this is what you're talking about here is the value of looking back and seeing what God's done. I'm sure you guys were living in some serious messes when you bought that house. And when you took this picture, you probably also had some serious messes in your life, right? But now you get to actually believe, okay, if God did it then, he can do it now.
Amen.
But here's the thing, Craig, because I don't even know when you posted this, if you knew that this moment was connected to this moment. Mm-hmm. This is what's wild about what God does. He starts connecting all the things in our lives. He starts connecting all the pieces. We start looking back and seeing what God did then, and we see what he's doing now. And then we realize that the same God who was doing it then is doing it now. He's been doing it all along, and God doesn't stop working. Nope. It takes us looking deeper, right? Sometimes it takes us being like, life looks messy and random, but like, what does this post have to do with Legos and crayons and a map? So what color did you pick? Blue? What city you can follow? What city were you thinking of? Los Angeles, LA, and then what piece did you pick? A little hat. Okay. You picked blue, you picked Los Angeles, you picked the hat. This is what's funny. This seems random, but Craig, sometimes God loves weaving moments together. It's coming. This is one of those posts where it says now and then, because there's actually a second picture here, right? You picked two. You posted two pictures, one from now, and then one from back then. Can we swipe to the next picture? Do you see? What Craig and Amy, when they first bought this house, they in front of the very house, what they're wearing on their heads. You picked blue, you said Los Angeles, and you picked hat. Can you zoom in on that? Yeah. They got blue.
I mean, I watched it live. I was trying to, I swear, I thought they were in on it. I thought these people were in on it, but he's going to address that in a second.
When Craig is up here preaching week after week, he's inspiring you guys to keep writing your story. Yes. Knowing that not only are you connected to this place, you're connected to each other, you're connected to the people God's placed in your lives. But there's one more thing that I love about God.
It's coming.
When we continue to look deeper, we don't only find French fries in a chip bag and cucumbers in an Oreo pack. Right. We find way more than we ever thought was possible. We just need to train our eyes to see it. And you need people in your life to remind you that you can see it because God is good. In the very beginning, I told you guys, and please, I did not tell you guys what to say or pick. We haven't set this up. You guys have no idea what's happening because people are going to be like, we're in on it.
That's what I was going to say.
Boss is looking at me like, am I in on it?
Yeah, that's what I would have felt because I was wondering the big thing for me was I was wondering what I would have said. I'm going to let him cook in a second. I'll give him the final. But I was looking at it and saying to myself, if I'm up there, would I be in on it? Was I in on it? How was it working? Like it really felt like these people had to be picked because every time I see a match, like I watched a show a couple of years ago where they were showing how magicians actually really were able to do certain tricks, the cards and all that. There was actually a documentary on them revealing how they did certain things. So I always kind of have the mindset when it comes to magicians is how did they actually do it? And when he hit me with this, I was like, okay, this thing is getting a little crazy because I couldn't figure out how he was able to get this done. But watch it. This is the final.
You guys guys could have picked any number in the very beginning.
Right.
You said 8,
Remember
and
the
then you
beginning.
both said 23,
8,
right?
and then they both
23
right.
and 23. Do you know what's really fun about Jesus? Is we get to keep looking and finding more and discovering more of his goodness. I want to do something. Can we zoom back out and scroll down? I want to look at when Craig posted this picture. You said 8, 23, and 23. You said when Craig posted this.
8,
August
23rd, 2007. This was that. First of all, to be willing to share or willing to allow an individual who, again, if you dive deeper into his past, and he goes on, Pastor Craig Groeschel goes on and talks about Dustin Tavela's past and everything he's lived through, before America's Got Talent and all of that, and how connected he is. Like I said, I'm almost embarrassed at the fact that I didn't even know who he was. I'm kind of embarrassed about the fact that I didn't know about that. But at the same time, for him to be allowed to preach a sermon and for that to be my first interaction with him, it really allows you to think about exactly what he's saying, right? Exactly what he's saying in terms of how everything that you're going through in a certain season, everything that you may have lived through in your past, how that's just connecting to a bigger moment, a deeper moment, and why developing the walk of faith. We're not talking about religion. We're not talking about just doing something to impress other people. We're talking about developing a walk of faith and understanding that the walk of faith and you developing that walk of faith is going to be what allows us to have these moments, these connections, these moments in which it tells us, hey, just go on another day, go on another day, go on another day, another day, and keep building your mindset, keep building your resilience, keep building all of the things that are going to allow you to keep moving forward and set an example for the younger people. That's what it's about. All right. So, again, as always, man, it's been an incredible week, an incredible Faith-Based Friday. Make sure you tap in tomorrow, where I'll be breaking down the film session. It'll be film session Saturday, breaking down Ohio State and Penn State. I already got that loaded up. And be sure, if you are interested, if you are a business owner and you are interested in working with me further, just go to makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYamove.com. As you can see right there on the screen, you can go shop, get in the Patreon community, and you can book me to speak or just simply learn more about me. Everyone out there, you guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.